So thank you all for joining. Very happy that you could come today, the last day of 2021, where we are going to start with the new year tomorrow. Welcome 2022 tomorrow. So I'm going to begin now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 4, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, verse number 30. I'm going to recite the Sanskrit and then we'll read the translation. Sarve api eti yagna vido yagna kshapita kalmashaha yagna shishamrita pujo yanti brahma sanatanam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So as we can see, this verse, especially this chapter number 4, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, so far from the beginning of the chapter, we have learned the history of the Bhagavad Gita. The very first verse of chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita talks about the history of the Bhagavad Gita, which means it gives us knowledge about when was this Bhagavad Gita first spoken. And in Sanskrit, it says, Imam vivashvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is telling his friend Arjuna that I first spoke the spiritual science. He doesn't call it religion, spiritual science to sun god Vivaswan, which is 120 million years ago. Then 5,000 years ago, it was re-spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Then he explains to Arjuna how one should receive the spiritual science. It should be evam parampara praptam imam rajashya vidu, that it should be received in strict disciplic succession, which means the Supreme Lord spoke it to his disciple, who spoke it to his disciple, and it goes down all the way, unbroken chain. Then Krishna talks about why does he come down to this material world, and he says yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, that he says I come down whenever there is irreligion, when there is rise of irreligion, people have stopped kind of following the religious principles, so he comes down. And he also gives us a formula how that we can, after we give up this body, we can go back to the spiritual world. He talks about karma. If you remember, he says the intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. You know, many times people have a question, I've been good all my life. Why is so much misery coming to me? I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't been a bad person. Then why am I suffering? So this Krishna has explained in chapter 3, and he'll again explain in the next chapter 5 how karma works, how our past actions are the ones that are giving us reactions now in the present. And then he explained to Arjuna how we should work, in what consciousness we should work. So up to verse number 29 in this chapter, he talks about how we can become free from dualities. Most of us are bewildered or confused whenever there are dualities like happiness, distress, pleasure, pain, success, failure, so many dualities, and we get affected. So Krishna is explaining how we can elevate ourselves to the transcendental platform, which means above the three modes of material nature, which is ignorance, passions, and goodness, we have to come to the transcendental platform. And this is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us, how we can elevate our consciousness to the transcendental platform. This is what he's talking about. So he explained to Arjuna about Hatha Yoga, how to do the pranayam, all that, the sitting posture, the breathing. Breathing is very important in Hatha Yoga. And what is the purpose behind it? To control the airs in the body, all the different airs that are moving inside the body, how to control them. And what is the goal? To attain equilibrium. But is it necessary to do Hatha Yoga? Is it necessary to sit down in a secluded place, very erect for a very, very long time with no disturbance and try to control the breathing, do the pranayam? Practically, it's not possible in this Kali Yuga right now, in the world that we are living in. There's so much disturbance. First of all, it's difficult to go to a secluded place, maybe like a forest or the Himalayas. It's not possible, practical. So Krishna says, no, that is not practical. He's giving the knowledge so that we can understand the difference between Hatha Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti means devotion. So in this age, in Kali Yuga, he has given us a very simple process on how to elevate ourselves to that transcendental position. And the first step to that level is mantra meditation. Hatha Yoga will help us to increase the duration of life of this material body, but may not help us to control our senses. The easy way to control senses is Bhakti Yoga, which means performing devotional service for the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, we need to engage our senses wisely. You see, senses, they are like those wild horses. They just keep going here, there, everywhere. Anything we see, anything we hear, we immediately get attracted to it. So to engage the senses wisely and elevate ourselves to such a position, to such a platform that we don't get affected by dualities. And at the end, when we give up this body, we can go back to the spiritual world. So helping this Bhagavad Gita helps us shows us a simple process by which we can control our senses. Now, in this chapter, Krishna also talks about different sacrifices. People, they get scared of the word sacrifice. It's like, what do I need to give up? Some like to sacrifice their possessions. Some like to sacrifice by studying the Vedas. Some like to do sacrifice by performing different yoga system. And what is the main idea behind all this? To control the senses. Most people are only interested in satisfying or gratifying the senses. There's no one, there are very few who are really interested in self-realization, questioning, why am I here? Who am I really? And what am I doing here? Why am I suffering? How do I break this cycle of suffering? And how can I go to a place where there is permanent happiness? In this chapter, verse number 31, Krishna is telling Arjuna that one cannot be happy unless one performs sacrifice. In fact, in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, Kali Santanara Upanishad, there is a mention, there's a simple process by which we can remain happy all the time, even while living in this material world, even while living with the family, loving the family, going to work, taking care of children, everything. Only thing is the change of consciousness. So Krishna says it's possible to get permanent happiness while in this body. What is the reason the suffering is painful? Because there is lack of knowledge. It's due to ignorance. And because there's lack of knowledge, most people do not know what are the instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. Just as we buy a new gadget or we buy a new car. So along with that comes a owner's manual that tells us about the machinery and also tells us how to operate it. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is the owner's manual for this human body, this rare human body that we have. It explains to us how we should eat, what we should eat, how to sit, how to talk, how to walk, how to engage our senses, how to become self-reliant. All that knowledge is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Why is it there? So that we do not fall into the category of committing sins. See, this human form of life actually is like a loophole. It gives us an opportunity to break the cycle of birth and death. We've been going on and on and on. Birth, disease, old age, death. Birth, disease, old age, death. This cycle has been going on and on for millions of years. We have gone through 8.4 million species of lives. And after so much, going through all these different cycles, now we have got this human form of life in which we can free ourselves from all miseries. So Bhagavad Gita is showing us a process by which we can become free. But of course, that requires discipline and that requires regulations, following the regulations. Then it is possible for us to become liberated even in this body. If there is no sacrifice, then Krishna says there's going to be no bliss. Now, many sacrifices, they are approved in the Vedas, the big Vedic literatures, they are really vast. I mean, one will not be able to finish reading all the Vedas even in one lifetime. They are just so voluminous. But they give us the knowledge about the sacrifices that are approved by the Vedas. There's a very famous Sanskrit verse which says, Krite yadhyayato Vishnu tretayam yajato make dvapare parichayam kalau tad harikirtana. It says that there are 4 ages: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. So each age, each yuga, which is called an age, has a different method for self-realization. In the first age, which is Satya Yuga, the process for self-realization or attaining God was meditation for at least 30,000-40,000 years. We don't have that lifespan. In Treta Yuga, it was fire sacrifice. In Dwapar Yuga, it was elaborate worship in the temples. But in Kali Yuga, which is in which we are right now, Kali Yuga, it says Kalau Tad Hari Kirtana. Kalau means Kali Yuga, Tad means we get the same benefit that people in other ages got for self-realization. How? Hari Kirtana, just by chanting the holy names of the Lord. That is why in all my classes, I do stress on the importance of taking the first baby step, which is mantra meditation. Now, why Krishna is talking about so many different kinds of sacrifices? Because there are different kinds of people. Just like, say, supposing I want to make pizza. And for pizza, we definitely need cheese. So now I go to the grocery store and there are so many options. So many different kinds of cheeses available. So because each individual has a different taste, some may like, Sargent cheese or Kraft cheese or whatever cheese it might be. So because there are different kinds of people, Krishna is giving knowledge about different kinds of sacrifices. And one can attain liberation or come to that transcendental platform just by taking on this knowledge. Now, Krishna tells Arjuna that sacrifice in knowledge is better than sacrifice of material possessions. Sometimes, people, they get tired or they get sick of life and they say, oh, there's too much misery. I'm not interested in anything. I want to sacrifice everything. I want to give up my family. I want to give up my job. And I would just want to go to the mountains and, just try to meditate or do something. That sacrifice is not the right form, because sacrifice should be done in knowledge. Just giving up material things without knowledge is not the right thing to do, because Krishna says that all sacrifices should be done based on knowledge, and it should culminate in transcendental knowledge. What is the purpose of sacrifice? Krishna told us in chapter 3. He says, Yagnarthat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha tad artham karma kantaya mukta sangha samachara. What does that mean? Krishna says, work done as a sacrifice has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage. So it's very simple. If we are, say, supposing I go to my job, I go, to my office to do a job. Now, if my consciousness is that I am going to the job because I want to earn money and I want to enjoy my senses, it is all about I, me, and mine, then that is not the right consciousness. Then there's going to be bondage. How is there going to be bondage? Because as we learned in chapter 2, Krishna says, I'm not sure if you can hear me because someone is burning fireworks just outside my house. So let me know if you're not able to hear me clearly. Right now it stopped, but it's coming on again and again. So in chapter 2, Krishna explained that when the senses come in contact with sense objects, there is attachment. Just like children, when they see an ad on television or they see an ad on a billboard, they immediately get attracted to and say, oh, I want that toy, or I want that video game, or I want this, or I want that. There is attachment. The same happens with adults too. So when that attachment becomes into a deep desire, and when that desire is not fulfilled, then there is anger. And anger leads to bewilderment of memory, intelligence is lost, and person falls down in consciousness. So we should perform our activities. The whole purpose of our activities should be to please Krishna. If there is no sacrifice done, or if sacrifice is done for personal sense gratification, then there's going to be bondage. So this is what Krishna explains. So full knowledge is very, very important. Now, everyone in this material world wants to get rid of all miseries. If someone is diseased, is really fed up with that disease, wants to get healthy again, doesn't want that disease anymore. If someone is poor, wants money, so everyone is looking to become happy and peaceful. And that is possible only when we understand, when we take on knowledge, we understand what Krishna is telling us in the Bhagavad Gita and then putting it into practice. Just theory is good, but it's not good enough. We get the theory and then we put it into practice. So the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to make us aware of our true identity. Normally, we are under the consciousness of I, me, and mine, right? I think it was, I don't know who is the owner of Apple company. I know he's no more, but I think Steve Jobs, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. He was very smart. When he started his company, he used everything, all his products with iPhone, iMac, iPad, everything I. Why? Because I guess he knew that everyone is under I consciousness. Everyone is concerned about I, me, and mine. But we have to come out of that. That is we are talking about the body. But the first foundational knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is we are not this body, but we are the spirit soul. So Bhagavad Gita is teaching us how we can engage our senses in loving devotional service to Krishna. And sacrifice is one of the ways. And sacrifice should be based on faith. Right? All of you are here today listening to Bhagavad Gita is because you have some faith. You have faith probably in the Bhagavad Gita. You have probably faith in the Supreme Lord. You probably have faith in how one can elevate oneself to the transcendental platform. You have that basic faith, and that is why you are here, to hear the transcendental knowledge. So when we hear this knowledge, then gradually there is purification of the heart. Now one may say, my heart is clean. It's pure. There's nothing wrong. But all of us have a little degree of something, maybe lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion. It could be anything to any degree. But once we take on the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and especially try mantra meditation on a daily basis, then we will see that the heart gets completely pured. You see, so here in this chapter, these verses that we are doing right now, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that one should not give up anything without knowledge. You see, if we do that, then we are still on the material platform. We haven't elevated ourselves to the transcendental platform. But once we reach that transcendental platform, then all our activities will be spiritualized. Whether we are eating food which we have offered to the Lord, we are eating, that is spiritualized. When we are going to job and we are working and we are using whatever earning we have in a spiritual way, that also is spiritual. So the whole life becomes spiritual, but the key is the knowledge, taking on the knowledge. And knowledge should be taken from a bona fide authority. Next week, when we have the class, I'll take only one verse, which is the most important verse of chapter 4, verse number 34. And the whole lecture class will be only on that, which talks about bona fide authority. You know, supposing all of you were living in Atlanta, I live in Atlanta, and all of you were living in Atlanta, and I, recommended to you, and I said, in my backyard, I have opened a school for children. Why don't you send your children to my house in the backyard? I'm pretty sure none of you will agree to that. Why? Because the school that has been opened in the backyard, if it's not connected to the Board of Education, it's of no use. It has to be connected to a bona fide authority. Similarly, spiritual knowledge also should come down in a strict disciplic succession. The guidance should come from a bona fide authority. I practically, in every class, I talk about this one point, that we human beings, we have philosophical intelligence. We are not like animals. We are above the animals. Why do we have that philosophical intelligence? So we can decide, we can understand with the help of knowledge, what is the goal of human life, right? Supposing I pick up the car keys and I tell my husband, I'm going. The first question he'll ask me is, where? And if I say, well, I don't know, I'm just going to drive, that would be ridiculous. I should know, where am I right now? I'm in Atlanta. Where do I want to go? I probably want to go to New York. So I should have a goal in mind, and then I can go on that path. So also in human life, this human form that we have, we should have a goal. We should understand, where am I right now? I am in the material world, and this age is Kali Yuga. It's called Kali Yuga. This is the age of this material world. Right now, this is where I am. And where do I want to go? My goal should be, I want to go to a place where there are no miseries, where there is no birth, no disease, no old age, no death. These miseries are not there at all. I want to go to that place. And that place is only the spiritual world. According to the Vedas, it explains to us that the whole creation is divided into two parts. A quarter of it is this material world, and 3/4 of it is the spiritual world. This is how the Supreme Lord has designed the whole creation. So an intelligent person would want to go to a place where there is no suffering. I don't think any of us wakes up in the morning and starts praying to the Lord, oh, please give me miseries, please give me some nasty disease, or please make me poor. No one prays like that. No one wants that. Everyone is looking for peace and happiness. So if somehow or the other, we can have a goal in life, try and understand, not be on the bodily concept. Don't just, we should come out of this bodily concept that I'm this body, I want to enjoy. No, we are spirit souls that are encaged in the material body right now. And our true identity is the spirit soul. And our constitutional position is to have a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. You see, the time is passing by. Can you imagine? The whole year is gone. The whole of 2021 has come to an end today. Did we ever realize that the whole year will pass by just like that? It's gone. So, what have we accomplished in 2021? It's a good time to reflect. Maybe write down in a diary, what did I do in 2021 that helped me to grow, that helped me spiritually? What did I do? Have I accomplished? Yes. If yes, then can I progress? Can I do something more spiritually in 2022, which starts tomorrow? In India, of course, it's already started. So a very happy new year to all of you. And especially those who are from India, it's already Saturday, 1st January for them. So it's time to reflect, all the time. It is said, even the wealth of the entire universe cannot get us back the moment that is past. You see, we've been in this class for almost 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes we cannot get back, they are gone. So time is passing by. So now that the new year is coming up, it's important to make some resolutions, not just material resolutions, like they say resolutions are made to be broken. No, I'm talking about spiritual resolutions. What can I do? Is it possible that I can, put in some more time for spirituality, put in some more time to become more self-realized, right? Time, it's actually time to become more serious and save ourselves. We don't want to come back into the cycle of birth and death again. We want to stop this cycle of misery. So sincerely, if we can understand the knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita and try to put it into practice, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is for everyone. Sometimes people have a wrong notion that Bhagavad Gita is only for Hindus, or no, there is no mention of religion in the whole Bhagavad Gita. It's only talking about spiritual science, which means it is talking about the laws of the Supreme Lord. It's teaching us how we should work, how we should eat, how we should walk, how should we lead this human form of life. So it is a very practical book. I have been following it for more than 35 years, and I can see the difference. It in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita itself, Arjuna is telling Krishna, the Supreme Lord, that I don't want to be in this battle. I don't want to fight. I'm all confused and I'm feeling morose and I'm sad. And I just want to give up everything. I want to become a beggar. I want to leave everything and go and meditate. Krishna said, no, there's no need to give up family. There's no need to give up our homes or cars, our family, our job, our money, nothing. We don't have to give up anything. That's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. All we have to do is just change our consciousness, rise above the bodily concept of life. Think of who we really are. And instead of just feeding the body, we start feeding the soul also, the spirit soul. Just like the body needs nourishment, the spirit soul also needs nourishment. And how do we give the food to the spirit soul? Mantra meditation. When we chant the holy names, the soul gets satisfied. There is purification of the heart. And then one can see things as they are very, very clearly. See, we should understand that we have lost 1 year, the whole year from our life, right? The whole, we have lost one whole year, and we have, you can say it's subtracted from our lives. 1 year has been subtracted from our lives. So the more, we take spirituality more seriously, the more we will realize how happy it makes us. And tomorrow is a new year. We start 2022, 1st of January. Of course, a very happy, healthy, and I hope a Krishna conscious new year to all of you. And I hope that you will be able to make a spiritual resolution, that, you know, uh, that we will say, one of the spiritual resolutions could be that I will do mantra meditation, maybe 10 minutes a day, start with 10 minutes a day, and then maybe increase it gradually. So these are some of the spiritual resolutions we can take. I have in the chat, I have put, some of the links, like the class we have, Zoom link, Facebook page, YouTube channel, and WhatsApp group. But at the bottom, you will see the mantra. Man means mind, tra means to free the mind of all anxiety. So this is the mantra. It's actually called the Maha Mantra, the greatest chant. So it would be very nice if y'all can, make the spiritual resolution that, yes, I will do this mantra meditation every day for as long a period that I can. It could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, with whatever is convenient. So I can give you a demonstration of this mantra meditation, and maybe you all can also try to chant. And the mantra is right there at the bottom, that bottom of the, I can post it again over here. This is the mantra. We'll just do this meditation for a few minutes and you can get a feel of it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's very, very simple, and it doesn't take too much time, but it gives a lot of peace and happiness. So I would recommend that you please do this mantra meditation, if possible, on a daily basis, and see the difference for yourself. Now, we've been having these classes on Fridays, but starting from next week, which is the new year 2022, we will shift back to our original class days, which is Tuesdays. So the next class will be on Tuesday, January 4th at the same time, 7:30 p.m. And it's a very, very, very important verse that we are going to discuss next Tuesday. So I would highly recommend that you please join. So I will stop now. And if anyone has any questions,